Join us for a video version of my op-ed from pntsnetwork.com reflecting on Stadia's 2021 mainstream media coverage. See as Stadia Gamer asks wild question on Reddit. Here's our reaction. It's SDO Daily, baby. Let's get into this one. What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of PNTS Network and StadiaDosage, bringing you a special SDO Daily, again reflecting on my op-ed on pntsnetwork.com. But before we get into all that, can you do us a huge favor? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. We appreciate all of y'all. Straight up, y'all know the deal, y'all know the reason, and by now y'all should know the slogan. We are not too proud to ask. Okay, so before I get into this, right, I want to make you aware that I'm going to break this up into three parts. Part number one is I'm going to talk about the Reddit post that influenced my entire op-ed. All right, so we're going to talk about that story. And then we're going to respond to that Reddit post. I'm going to show you what my response was. And then overall, I'm going to conclude what is going on here with the mainstream media in regards to Stadia in 2021 and some of the stuff that we're seeing already going into 2022. All right, so let's go over all of that starting now. First and foremost, the story that influenced us all. All right, so I had the pleasure the other day of reading a concerned gamer's response on the Stadia subreddit. And, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's take a look at it right now. Let me show you something. The post asks, why is every media take on Stadia absolute doggish? And it reads, some of it reads as follows. I'm French living in America. I work the night shift and I don't have time to buy a big A hard drive and install them to install 80 gigabyte games. The ability to get home at 4 a.m., boot up Darksiders 2, holy ish, this game is good, and just boot into it with no updates is killer for me. All right. And the article goes on and on and on to help crystallize and help the reader understand that despite what the mainstream media is out here babbling about, this thing is a marvelous way to game for a section of gamers. It's not useless as people are trying to make it seem in the mainstream media. Now, again, the post asks, why is every media take on Stadia absolute doggish? And I chuckled at the title. But the spirit of the post began to grow on me in the wake of more of our journalistic friends overshooting the moon on what Stadia is, instead of giving it time to grow like its peers. We see more articles that instead fuel the sentiment that is from this Reddit poster. Being someone who could completely relate to that post, I felt compelled to try to answer this concerned gamer's question the best way that I could. I tried doing so focused on all of the peculiar articles that likely sparked the post in the first place. Therefore, this is needed. Because let's face it, Stadia has been the most over-scrutinized and poorly understood service I've ever witnessed in my 35 plus years of gaming. All right. So with that said, now on to my response. So my response to the dismayed Reddit poster is as follows. I say, great question. It's for a few complicated but troubling reasons that the media takes are so doggish. Number one, they lack the ability to simply say, my bad. What do I mean by this? Well, most of the media ire is based on their belief that Stadia out of the box was supposed to compete with PlayStation and Xbox. This despite several interviews from Stadia GM Phil Harrison and head of games at the time, Jack Buser, speaking to the contrary. They failed to do research, stuck to a T-flop slide at a developers conference for crying out loud, and never were able to let it go. Their inability to say, oops. Now, despite some of the Stadia's odd messaging, we totally jumped the gun, y'all. This is not a primetime experience just yet. It's one that they're slowly building towards at a speed that may annoy a number of us, honestly. But nonetheless, the signs of building are there as seen in X, Y, and Z. Instead of doing that, they call it a failure, declare it dead every 5 minutes, while giving their peers a pass on issues many would consider worse. For example, poor and inconsistent stream quality, lack of convenience, too costly barriers of entry for atypical cloud gamers, and so forth. Reason number 2, false sense of control. As a content creator myself, one who challenges motifs that don't square up to the facts, I often find that most media just don't like cloud gaming. They think it relinquishes ownership of purchases. This right here is proof enough that the current journo camp often falls short of due diligence. Why? Because currently you own nothing when it comes to games. And I'm speaking to console, PC, mobile, cloud, retail purchases. You are granted access to a license as described here several years ago. This is an article from VentureBeat where they specifically tell you, you don't own your games. And this article right here helped crystallize this fact for more journalists way back when in 2013. Maybe some of these current journos should go back and read these articles. Now, being able to install a game on local hardware doesn't nullify this fact. What it means is, in instances, you can better control your access to said content by going offline. However, that may not be possible in all situations. Also, with the growing advent of DRM, even for single player games, that control is slipping away day by day. Lastly, fear of the unknown. Too many in the mainstream media have expressed the fear of the apex of cloud gaming. They've questioned, am I no longer going to be able to find dedicated hardware to play my favorite games? Again, the lack of due diligence is at play here. Cloud gaming, even though growing at impressive rates, will only be expected to have about a 4% market share in 2027. It's going to be a long time before cloud gaming is even a threat to dedicated device gaming. Even at that, if becoming the dominant way to play years in the future, it doesn't mean that dedicated device gaming dies. For example, when you look at movies, streaming rapid growth haven't completely eradicated DVDs. Even 10 years later, they still have a major presence, as explained with many publications. By the time these fears with gaming manifest, it'll be so far into the future, internet access and usage will look so different, making cloud access the only thing that makes sense. So Reddit poster, to sum up these reasons, it's a lack of understanding and ability to look past the first 5 minutes of now from a technological standpoint at the root of these dog-ish articles. Today's journalism is full of fancy words, innuendo, and conjecture. Very rarely is it embedded in due diligence and looking beyond how I feel. Therefore, you don't get an insightful look into a growing medium. Instead, you are unadulterated with hyperbolic journal entries from some new English major's silo thought process. Solution: stop listening to the writers. Listen to the gamers. Here on PNTSnetwork.com, we got a full list of gamers and content creators that are more acclimated to the platform, that understand what's going on. Check it out. It's called the Weekly Dosage Community Digest. Now, some takes from these content creators are good, some are bad. And when I mean good and bad, I mean positive, and some are negative. Nonetheless, you get well-rounded takes and not just some journo's conjecture disguised as matter of fact. All right. So that was my response to the Reddit poster. Here's my overall conclusion as far as what's going on here with the mainstream media and Stadia. Simply put, my colleagues have a long way to go before they cure what ails their misfires on Stadia. When they do, trust me, it'll look something like Stadia pulls itself from the brink of death, and to our utter amazement, Stadia pulls off the impossible. None of which will be true. What will be true is Stadia and the other successful cloud platforms just followed the data. They just followed the analysis. They didn't try too hard to be what they're not. Platforms that out of the box can take out deadly devices. When the time was right and trust was there, they simply improved the output to meet demand. All the while, my journalist friends were just too disconnected from the product to understand and report so. And that's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, who cares what I think? But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadman Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, here, the Stadia Dosage. With all that said, we appreciate and love all of your support. As always, you have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.